वो क्या फेंकता हूँ वहां बैठेगी कि नहीं, क्योंकि
Okay, so now we are again back with another class with the subject of Linux. So in our previous classes of Linux, we have a discussion on the processes of fork and this type of scenarios, right? So now after that, we have a part of the continuation with that. There is a term called signal. The thing term that is signal here present in our Linux system. Signal is not that data communication type of signal what we have studied in our data communication classes. Here something means some process signal. This signals is an event in the case of Linux. We can say this is an event generated by the system, generated by the Linux system to respond in some conditions. Upon receiving that signal, a process may responded on some or by doing some actions. So it is one type of, similarly we can say the process of interrupt, but specifically this signal have some specific tasks and specific processes generated by the signal. So we can say in the process of Linux, a signal is an event generated by the Linux system. So as a definition, we can say it is an event generated by the Linux system, and in turn when this type of event is generated for some conditions, it is generated. Then if a signal is generated, a process for some conditions, a process may have to take some actions against that. So this is a thing called signal in the process of Linux. So it is an event generated by the Linux system for some conditions. In turn, a process when it's receiving this type of signals, it may have to take some actions against that signal. right? Now these signals, all about this process, the what are the function, what are the attributes present in the signals, all are defined if we are trying to write some code in the shell programming through a C programming header files. We have seen some part of shell programming, how we can do that. We have seen in the in yesterday's lab, right? So also we have seen how we can write a code, how also we can write a C programming in the first lab classes. So considering that we are trying to identify a signal, we are trying to proceed with the signals, or when this type of signal is generated, what is the background code? There must have some background code that is running against that signal, because when a thing is occurring, there have some code for respective of that scenarios. So if in consideration of this, when a signal is generated, what is the purpose against that signal, all the things need to be stored in some places, and that's where the scenario coming and header file that is called signal.h. Signal dot h, it is a part of header file where all the signal names and what is the purpose for that is defined, predefined in this particular header file called signal.h. Now let us check that what are the signals available in this part of signal.h header file, and what is the process, what is the task of that particular signal. So first of all, we are talk about that is called sig abort. First one that is known as SIG abort. This SIG, SIG, it is stands for the signal. The abbreviation of signal is start with SIG. All the signal related terms, all the attribute is starting with SIG. Then the signal name. So SIG abort. SIG is the attribute for the abbreviation for the signal part. Then abort. Then this SIG abort, it is used for the part of to abort a process. To abort a process, this sig abort is there as a signal. Second one, sig alarm. Sig alarm, it is a part of alarm clock that our system have something to alarm. Then we can proceed it through the sig alarm. So it is called alarm clock, sig alarm. Then third one, sig HUP. Third one we can talk about, that is sig HUP. That is to hang up any process. To hang up any process, we use this sig HUP to hang up any process. Fourth one we can talk about sig INT. Sig INT is for terminal interrupt. SIG INT, it is used for terminal interrupt. So we are working something through the terminal, and to interrupt the process, to interrupt the work in the terminal, that is the signal SIG INT, terminal interrupt. SIG kill, that is for kill. SIG pipe, write on a pipe process. So first of all, SIG kill, to kill a process. Then there is I have SIG pipe to write something pipe, type pipelining type communication. Then SIG quit is to terminal quit. SIG term is for termination. So these are the different type of signal attribute, signal names are present under the part of the signal.h header file and have a specific purpose, have a specific description, work on it, right? So there are more, some additional attributes are also present, that is known as sig child, that is child process have stopped or exited. So suppose a child process is working and suddenly sig child, this type of wait, this type of signals is getting generated. So this sick child, when we are getting this sick child type of signals, then it is indicating that the child process is stopped or exited, right? Then there is sick stop, to stop executing something, right? So these are the several type of signal attributes present in the part of the signal header file that is helping us for the process of these signals when this type of signals is generating or getting. So then what is the purpose for that particular signal, that is to be specified, and all the things, all the related information was already stored in our library file, right? So this signal, actually it is called a function. The signal function itself can return a same type of function. So there are, suppose a seek ing is seek ign. Suppose we are getting a this type of wait a minute, seek ign. Suppose this type of a signal is getting generated. So that is meaning to ignore the signal. So a signal can itself also ignore its signal. So seek ign, if it is generated, so we can get a message that we can ignore this signal. So the signal is itself a return type of function that have some following values, that have some following purpose, is all have present, right? So these are the different type of signals. Along with the process of the interruption, they are helping for the processes to work with the process for the smooth conduction of the processes, right? So signal is almost a similar type of interruption process that is helping for the task. Now these signal functions, these are, as these all are, we can say, the systems called related to signals we have. So signal is one type of a system call. So there are two parts, that is called an unreliable signal and a reliable signal. In this process there are two things. First one as termed as unreliable signal, and second one is known as the reliable signal. So what is the concept of unreliable signal? So in Linux, in the system of Linux, a signal could occur, but the process have no idea about it. The scenario is that the signal gets occur. A signal was generated, but the process have no idea about it. So this signal can get lost as the process is not aware of the signal. This is the thing, or this is the process is known as unreliable signal. So unreliable signals, the signal could get lost. A signal may have occurred, but the process have no idea about that signal. So the process is ignoring the signal because you have no idea. The process is not getting any type of access, any type of action on that signal. So that's where it becomes an unreliable signal. And in the part of reliable signal, whenever a signal gets generated and it have the idea, it have full attention of a process, is known as the reliable signal. So reliable, most of the signals are getting is reliable, but sometimes when the signal is getting ignored or blocked by any other reason, that is the term known as the unreliable signal, right? So this signal is helping for the process smooth operations to be executed. Here two things, that is kill and raise function, two terms are there. Kill and raise function. The kill function is something, it sends a signal to a process or a group of processes, or the raise function is allows to process to send a signal to itself. So two type of things, that is a kill and signal function, kill and raise function. Actually kill function is here to send the signal to the other processes. So when we are using the kill, that is something, the process, the child is going to be killed or executed or stopped, then the signal needs to be sent to someone about this the information. But when it is raised, the raise signal, raise function is giving the signal it's to itself. So the process is sending a signal to itself that it needs to be raised. So kill and raise function is also sending a signal, one for itself and another one is for something sending to other. So there are, in this scenario there are four different conditions for the kill for a process PID argument. So suppose when a kill function is generated, so there are four different type of conditions. So suppose there are, first one, PID is greater than 0. So process ID is greater than 0 if it is the scenario. Then the signal is sent to the process whose process ID is PID. The signal is sent to the process whose process ID is PID. So similar type of ID with the relation of between parent and child. The same signal will be sent to the similar type of process ID of the parent ID. And if PID equal to 0, the signal is sent to all the processes whose process group ID is equal to the ID of that matching. Less than 0 and -1 is obviously is not specified, not found, and less than 0 is the all processes whose process group ID equals with the absolute value of PID. So different type of conditions are there with respect to the killed processes to return the value to its previous owner or the parent or the group of conditions are there. So when a process gets terminated or the process gets killed, so its information needs to share with the previous or the parents of the group, whatever it is the matching or the thing is found, right? So define type of condition to match with the scenarios. Now this all the things we have talked so far, seeing that all the things are connected with each other, talk or have a communication, we have said the processes are already in communication with each other, or we can say that the process can communicate between each other, right? So how the things or how the scenario goes on, right? So there is a term or there is a thing, very important term we can say here, that is IPC. It is a very important term in the part of Linux, Unix, or whatever any software, any operating system we are talking about. The term, it is known as the inter-process communication. This IPC or the inter-process communication facility is very helpful for the communication between the processes. This IPC is actually includes some thread synchronization and data exchange between the threads beyond the process boundaries. Means in simple word, we can say to communicate between the different processes, because each of the processes have some boundaries, have some functionalities, have some synchronization between each other. Now, when one process is trying to communicate with other processes, then the communication needs to be set up properly so that there will be no issue when they are working on something mutually, right? So IPC includes thread synchronization and data exchange between the threads beyond the process boundaries. So if the threads belong to the same processes, they execute in the same address spaces, they can help each other directly. So there are two basic approach in the set of IPC. So what are the two approaches in the IPC? First one, we can say, suppose processes, right, processes are present in same computer, processes are present in same device, that is better. Processes are present in same device. Second one, processes are present in different devices. So two scenario is there. First one, if the processes are present in the same devices, and second one, if the processes are present in different devices. Because either where the process can communicate with another process that is present in the same devices, in that case the scenario will be something different. But when the process is trying to communicate with some other devices, one device is trying to connect with other devices, in that scenario the process or the IPC communication will be something different, right? So in the first case, the first one, that the processes are present in the same computer, in that scenario it is easier to implement. Why? Because the processes can share memory in both sector, in the user space and the system space, because they are present in the same devices. So the memory can be shared between the processes. So it is very easy to implement, right? So when the processes are present in the same devices, they can mutually share the storage space, they can mutually share the user space at the system space. So that's why there will be no issue and it is very easier to implement. But in the second case, when the processes are present in the different computers, or the processes trying to communicate between the different computers, that is something not so easy, because in that case the devices do not share the physical memory, because they are connected outside of the devices, not in the present, not in same devices. So to communicate outside the different devices, there is no physical memory actually. So what happened? They are connected via some devices, some network concept comes here, where they are connected through a network, and via that network they are trying to communicate between each other. So the processes that are present in the different computers cannot use any type of shared memory for the set of communication. So what happened? What actually comes into the scenario? Then here comes the scenario of the network. So we can say that network system sharing or network sharing system is here in the part of second, where they are connected. The devices are connected with via or some network sector, and they are trying to share the processes, they are trying to share the memory on a virtual space map with the two devices. So that is very difficult for achieve, because the physical memory is not present. So that will may take some time to communicate between the processes, to access if any memory is needed or any process is needed, any process needs to execute one file or access one file. In that case, they have to wait much longer time, right? So there are two basic or these two fundamental approach in the section of IPC, one for the same computers or same devices, and second one for the different devices. So now talks about the first scenario, where the processes are residing into the single system or it is in a same devices. So this IPC, when is following in a single computer devices or single devices, it have four general approaches. So talking about the first case, that when the processes are residing in the same devices, it have basically four approaches. What are the four approaches, or means we can say what is the basic facility or advantage for this single devices, for the same devices? First one, the shared memory, physical memory that can be shared between each other. Second one, message. Third one, pipes. And fourth one is the sockets. These are the four scenarios: shared memory, message, pipes, and sockets that can be connected, or general approaches that is helping on a single set of devices. So the synchronization between each of the processes in the single devices needs to be very much with each other, where they can share the memory in case they need, they can transfer the messages between each of the processes, they can create a pipeline or pipe program, they can have the socket facility for in a single computer devices, right? So this single computer or single devices have these four facilities, that is shared memory, messages, pipe, and socket. These four basic the what we can say basic facilities that are present in the case of single device. But if the processes are on different devices, IPC communication, how it is happened? So when it is the interprocess communication is present in the different devices, so the shared data, the data needs to be shared through some particular network we have said previously, because maybe one machine is not holding all the data, so different the data are present in different machines. So in such a way we need to bind all the things, all of this network we have to bind all the processes in such a way so that it can be it looks like that all are present in a single devices and sharing a single sharing a particular memory. So but we have to create a scenario like this. This is for the second option, the scenario that is IPC between different processes. An example that is most authentic that here coming my mind, that is the banking setup, right? So considering that one setup is present in our in the main branch of the bank, and there are several branches in each of the cities, in each of the cities, in each of the towns, moreover in each of the areas. So there is a large connection, large thing is created, right? But the data needs to be shared through all of the system, because the data needs to be present in the main branch also. The data needs to be remain into the local branch also of a user. So suppose the user of Kolkata is traveling to Delhi. So when the person is trying to do some transaction from Delhi, so that Delhi branch needs to access the data of that user from Kolkata. So that's where how the scenario is set up, like in a way that looks like that, yes, it is also like looks like a single system devices, but not, it is present over a network. So we have to create, we have to process in such a way that all the data can be fetched easily, because that Delhi branch don't have the data of the Kolkata users, right? Because Delhi branch, the local branch have the data of the local user, but in some cases when they need to access, they have this type of communication to create so that they can fetch the data easily. So this IPC processes between the defined system, that it is the best example that come into my mind right now, right? So this happens, the second process we are talking about, that is for the different devices that present maybe over some different places. It is process, it is used, or it is happened, or it can be achieved with the help of this socket programming. Socket that is useful for the network communication programming. So this network communication by the help of the socket programming used here to connect, to create a connection between each of the devices present over the network, so that it can share the memory, it can share the data with each other. So this socket programming is one of the important criteria in the part of this different system devices, right? Now the part that is pipe. This pipe, where we have talked in our previous 3 or 4 class back, that what is the pipe in general. So this piping in term of Linux, we say that it is a serial communication device. This piping is, we can say that it's a serial communication devices. So this pipe is mainly used to communicate. This pipe is mainly used to communicate between the threads, between two threads in a single process, basically in between parent and child process. So this pipe is mainly used to communicate between the two threads in a single process, or between parent and child processes. So pipe can connect the related processes. So in shell, when we are trying to do some shell programming, what are we doing? Suppose, so if we take an example of the previous last lab, suppose yesterday's lab, what happened? We are trying to check whether all the files in the present in a direct in the same safe space, that whether the file is directory or a regular file. So to do that, first we have some set of files, and then we are trying to write some shell programming, and through that shell programming we are trying to access the files, right? So we are writing some names. So that is the piping communication was set up there to communicate between the two threads in a single processes, because there are different processes and we are connecting those processes so that our execution can happen, we can have a result. So pipe can only connect it to the related processes. So when we are trying to write some shell process yesterday, we are, when the shell process is trying to run or going to run, we are trying to connect it with some different type of processes to the related processes that is present or that is needed there for the execution. So the pipe is there to connect with the related process. So the pipe in the segment of piping, the writing process is very much faster than the reading processes, and the capacity of the data is very much limited. So we can say that this pipe is automatically, or is a part for synchronization between the two processes. The pipe can be used to synchronize between two processes. Now this piping functions, there is a pipe function is present to create these pipe scenarios. So this pipe function provides a way for passing the data between two programs and allows for whatever the scenario, if we need to read or if we need to write the data. So there is a function that is known as the pipe function that is helping to create a piping process where we can pass between two programs, we can pass the arguments of two programs, and also allows us to read and write the data. So it is similar type of the function with that call by value or call by Reference we can talk about where some descriptors is actually getting transferred, right? So this piping process is helping us in order for the processes of connection, creating a connection between the same system devices to communicate between each of the processes. So pipe is one of the important uses for the single set of devices. We can use this pipe as for the processes of standard input and output to some descriptor as a parameter. So the scenario of the C programming similar to that call by value and call by reference of the function. So there is a lot of piping programs is present, and we will see in the scenario in the lab. Okay, we will do some programs also, some pipe program, do the socket program, all the things will be done there. Just a minute. There is a lot of programs are present, actually part of the IPC. Okay, so we will see that the programming part in the library, right? So before proceeding for that, one important part is also here, that is known as the shared memory. We are talking that in the process of IPC, in the process of inter-process communication, the memory is shared between the processes, whether in the same system devices or whether it is present in the different system devices. So memory that needs to be shared, whether it is physical in a single system devices or either we need to create a scenario that looks like the devices are connected in a single space on a defined system devices. So this shared memory is very much effective in the case of this programs between the execution of the processes. This shared memory is highly efficient way of data sharing between the processes. So this shared memory option, this facility is helping us to unrelated processes to access the same logical memory. It allows two processes to access the same logical memory. Suppose consider process A and process B. They have some different purpose. Process A have some different work to execute, process B have some different work to execute. But to execute both the processes of process A and process B, there is some shared or something, some data needs to be present there in both of the cases, that is needed or very much important for both the processes. But the processes are not any way connected or similar to each other. But the data, but the memory that needs to be present to execute the process, there the shared memory is allowed or helping to unrelated process to access the same logical memory. We can say it is the very fastest way for the IPC, the inter-process communication, because in the single system devices, all the processes share the same set of memory. So there is only a single physical memory is present. So in the single system of devices, the shared memory option is a very fast approach to share the same piece of memory between each other. So this here the thing is the kernel. I said always the kernel have the information all about the thing. But in this scenario of shared memory, when the things is handled by the user, when the system is created or the scenario is created by the user, the kernel has very little information about this synchronization of the processes. So kernel in all the way not have all the information when it is trying to be created by the user. So the user, it needs to be handled by the user in case of user is trying to access the shared memory facility. So usage of the shared memory, or we can say that to use this shared memory, one process, one of the processes should allocate a particular segment, and then the other processes that are trying to access that segment should attach or get attached with the particular segment. So process A, considering that process A and process B both needs the same set of segment of the physical memory or memory to access the shared memory. So the segment process A and process B needs to get attached with that particular segment to work on that particular process, to execute for the process to access that particular segment of the memory. And after executing, after having the purpose they are trying to work, after that they need to detach themselves also, so that if any other process needs to attach, needs to execute, needs that particular shared set of shared memory, they can also attach with that, they can also access that particular segment. So every time a process needs to be attached themselves, and also at the same time it is very necessary to detach themselves or detach themselves from the state of memory. So allocating this shared memory, have some virtual pages to be created for that, means information that needs to be stored there. Virtual page map table we can say, where the information that which process have allocated what particular memory at which particular time, that this related information needs to be present in the particular virtual map of table, right? And also in this process the kernel support the shared memory when the things is taken care by the kernel processes. So these kernel processes have a table that is following of the records such like name, creator user ID or group ID, assigned owner user ID, the time when the processes are detached or attached. So these are the information that is stored in the process of this table. So these processes or the information that is present needs to be present in the part of this table. These are the Unix kernel supported system. Okay, so the thing is, in this particular scenarios, there is a lot of problems. That is, lot of C related programmings are present that we need to discuss and that we need to see, because whatever I have trying to discuss today is the basic theoretical concept, the very little theoretical concept is there. We need to do that with the part, we need to see the C programming, what is the process, how the thing is goes on. And to do that, we need to run this codes in the through the terminal, through the C programming. So what I will do, it is better in as per I am looking that we should go through this particular course. We will run this code into the terminals, into the scenarios to check how the things actually work. So the theoretical part for the Linux or the commands or the code is the basic theoretical part for all of the things was almost over, almost done. Now, whatever the things are present, whatever the scenarios are present here, that is some practical oriented things that we need to see, that we need to look here. So what we will do, we will go for in the from the next classes, we will check for some programming part to execute, to find out more space about this particular subject, because it is one type of subject, not some theoretical is the concept. We have some theoretical concept how the things work, how the things are related to each other, but there are some practical oriented sessions that needs to be there to understand the terms much better, right? So to execute all of this command, to execute the processes, the sockets, all the things, we are going to, from the next classes we are going to look the programming. So all the classes from the next day onwards, it will be similar to like lab classes, right? We will look for each of the programming, we will go for the experimental things, we will write some codes, means such as a lab class thing will happen, but for one class in the case of theory, right? So this is all about the theoretical part that is present in our Linux classes, because nothing more about theoretical discussion is needed here. So this is all for today's class. From our next class, we are going to talk, or we are going to see the things in practically, some code from the terminal, some commands again we are going to run from the terminal. Okay, so thank you all for joining into the session. This is for today, and I hope all of you have written their names in the chat box. Okay, so thank you all for joining the session. See you tomorrow in next class.
Thank you, sir.